Coast Twitter just gave us a delicious little surprise. They decided to drop us a legendary squirrel, the second one in Magic's history, by the way, not the first, but the second. It's called Toski, Bearer of Secrets. This thing is a 1/1 for 4 mana, but don't let that get you upset. 1/1 for 4/4. It can't be countered. It's indestructible. Weirdly enough, Toski, Bearer of Secrets attacks each combat if able, which can be a bad thing in some cases, but you'll probably, if you want to make this your commander, you'll probably want to play around that fact anyways. The last little bonus is whenever a creature I control deals damage to a player, you draw a card. It's not just Toski, it's any creature you have on the field while Toski's on the battlefield, which can do some pretty tasty things. You could do a Squirrel tribal with this, or just have a green weenie deck and just have a bunch of things on the board and swing. If I'm going competitive with Toski, which I wouldn't, this just seems like a super gimmicky card, I would probably just build a mono green buff for him, which probably would not be the best way to go with it, but definitely would be gimmicky. The first thing I want to focus on is giving Toski the only thing he doesn't have, which is spell protection. Most likely hexproof. There aren't a lot of hexproof options to give Toski in green, but there is things like asceticism, which gives creatures I control hexproof and allows me to regenerate them. Steely Resolve, when it enters the battlefield, I can choose a creature type, and those creatures have Shroud, which I could, if I was doing a Squirrel tribal with this, I could choose Squirrel. And the last one is Alpha Authority, which is Aura with Enchant Creature. Enchanted creature has hexproof and can't be blocked by more than one creature, which definitely helps with getting this to deal combat damage to other players, so we draw those nice cards. If we want to do some more boosting itself, giving this even more keywords to kind of make it more tasty, there's always Bow of Nelia on the field, which is a 1 colorless and 2 green legendary enchantment artifact. I love this card. I've had it in a lot of my decks. Attacking creatures I control have Death Touch. And then it has a nice little activate ability where you can choose one of 4 options, where it's put a +1/+1 on target creature, deals 2 damage to something with flying, gain 3 life, or the ability to put things from my graveyard at the bottom of my library, which all these things would be useful in a mono green deck. We need that utility. Another option for an enchantment that we can give Toski is Epic Proportions, which is 4 generic and 2 green. It's an enchantment aura with flash, and it gets 5/5 plus trample. So you turn this into a 6/6 with trample with indestructible that just has to attack. Chances are it's going to hit something. The last one I came across was Canopy Cover, which is 1 generic and 1 green, which is another aura. But it cannot be blocked by creatures unless if they have flying or reach. The last part of that one is enchanted creature can't be the target of spells or abilities my opponents control, which gives it basically hexproof. One of the main things I would honestly want in a Toski deck would probably be a way to get more squirrels. So we have Acorn Harvest, which is 3 generic and a green, and you create 2 1/1 green squirrel tokens, and it's Flashback, which is 1 green, pay 3 life to copy the spell, and then you exile it. Another little treat that we can add to our land source is Squirrel Nest, which is an enchant land, and you just tap it to create a 1/1 green squirrel token, which of course just adds more of our little friends on the field. Another little enchantment that I would probably end up throwing directly onto our commander is Jarod's Call, which is 1 generic and a green. Whenever a creature is dealt damage, its controller creates that many 1/1 green squirrel tokens. All I can think about with this enchantment is adding it onto our commander, having it block creatures, and just making more furry little friends for us. Additionally, if we want to boost our furry little friends, there's always Deep Forest Hermit, which is 3 generic and 2 green. It's a 1/1 elf druid with vanishing 3, so you add 3 time counters at it, and in 3 turns it's gone. But when it enters the battlefield, it makes 4 1/1 green squirrel tokens, which is okay. For 5 mana, you're getting 5 bodies. And additionally, for those 3 turns, squirrels you control will get +1/+1, which, I mean, who's going to complain about throwing a couple more nuts at your squirrels? The last squirrel-themed card I could think of to throw in this would be Crotian Beast, which is 3 generic and a green. It is a 4 mana 1/1 drop with not too much until the late game, but it gets 7/7 as long as 7 more cards are in your graveyard. So if for some reason you're throwing Toski in a green-black deck or just by itself and you just have a lot of cards to burn for some reason down the line, having an 8/8 later in the game that's a squirrel as well, it's going to be pretty useful. touching back to what I said earlier, the original legendary Squirrel is a Cornelia Fashionable Flitcher. She's 3 generic and 1 black, but she still has the color identity of green and black thanks to her abilities. Whenever you cast a spell with a squirrel in its art, you get an acorn counter. And whenever a squirrel enters the battlefield or dies, you get an acorn counter. The activated abilities are pretty tasty too. For 2 generic and a black, you can pay X acorn counters, and target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn. Or, for 1 green and paying X acorn counters, target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn. So which one of these legendary squirrels would you have as your furry commander? I think it'd be amazing to have this furry little Toski on the field to lead my bunch of little green furry minions into battle. Seeing this little furry commander on my Twitter feed this morning definitely gave Christmas Eve something a bit more special. That's all I have to say for today, so until I see the next spoiler card or if I do something else, talk soon.